Charm City Decoded. I'm your host, Sophina Turner. Welcome back. All right, this will be episode number 10. And the topic of today is concerning, let's have a discussion about the Will Smith slap when it comes down to Chris Rock. What are y'all thoughts on that? Do y'all think Will Smith was wrong for slapping Chris Rock? Do y'all think Chris Rock was wrong for making that joke, knowing that Jada Pinkett Smith has a medical condition concerning her bald head? Let's have a conversation about that. Me personally, I think, in my own opinion, that Will was wrong and how he handled that situation with Chris Rock, even though I understand they have a past back in 2016. Chris Rock also cracked jokes concerning his wife back then. So I don't know if he already confronted him concerning this back then and he warned him, pre-warned him what could happen. I'm not sure, but honestly, I don't think it was right for him to handle that situation the way that he did. This is a grown man. Will Smith is a grown man. And Chris Rock also is a grown man. So I don't agree with them doing that like that. I don't agree with him thinking that violence is the answer. And don't get me wrong, I understand behind the reason why he did it. I understand it. I'm all for him protecting his family, protecting his wife, and standing up for them like any man's supposed to when it comes down to protecting their family. I'm all for it. But I just think that it should have been handled in a different manner than which it did. I think that it's more to, Will just being at his breaking point and what's been disseminated out there, across social media, the discussions they had at the red table concerning the entanglement situation with August Alsina. And I can understand why they actually had that conversation at the red table. From what I gather from that conversation when I was watching it, it was just so they can actually get ahead of the narrative in reference to August Alsina, making this into a song and, and putting it out the way that he did. So they want to get ahead of that narrative by really, just telling their side. And I know it may not make Jada look good in this picture, and it may not make Will look, good in this picture because he stayed. But based off of that conversation at the Red Table Talk, they were separated during the time frame that she was seeing August Alsina, from my interpretation of what I gathered from that conversation. So they both human. They both make mistakes. And it's their decision on how they choose to work out their marriage. It's nobody else's business in reality. I understand that they're putting it out there for everyone to bear witness, but I think it has everything to do with being very transparent with who they are as people and the image that they had already, been displaying over the years, So they just wanted to get it out there because they wanted to get ahead of the narrative. That's, where you only would just live hearing August Alsina's point of view on it. But that seemed to, in my opinion, and I know I'm a woman, so some people may think that, oh, she's just saying this because she's a woman. No, I'm saying this because this is what I really think and this is how I really feel when it comes down to Jada. Everyone wants to make her the villain when it comes down to, that situation. And honestly, Will stayed. He was willing to work it out, and they have worked it out, and they continue to work on their marriage in every way, shape, or form, whether it's through faith, whether it's through emotions, whether it's through the physical context of just, displaying deeds to each other in a very loving way, or even if it's just them getting upset because they disagree with each other and whatever topic of conversation that they're having. But it's their relationship. I don't think it's fair to make Jada the villain in this situation because she's human at the end of the day. Yes, she had an affair with a younger man. In most cases, you normally hear the man doing that. Who had an affair with, another woman or a younger woman. Versus now, the shoe was on the other foot. Jada was the one who had an affair, and yes, it wasn't an affair because they were still married. Whether they was separated for that short time or not, they still were married. So I consider that to be an affair. It was definitely an affair, a relationship that Will was aware of during that time frame. It wasn't like it was a big secret. It was a big secret to the world because it wasn't the world's business. But they worked it out, and they continue to live and love on each other. So it's their business. But back to the Chris Rock situation, was it right that Chris Rock cracked a joke, understanding the sensitivity behind it? And I'll look at it like this too. Maybe others saw it, maybe others didn't, because they only focused on Will laughed at the joke too initially. But when you think about the jokes that he said prior to what he said about Jada, he focused on what was it, Denzel Washington, and what he said about Denzel Washington, and then the other white couple that was also up for the award. Those was very lightweight jokes where it wasn't really directed specifically as them as a human being or a predicament that they're going through. But as far as Jada was concerned, it was definitely direct. It was personable. It was very personable. It was directed toward her in a way where he said it was a joke about G.I. Jane, but it's more context to that because it wasn't about G.I. Jane, it was about Jada. And then he just made reference to G.I. Jane. And that's my interpretation on that. So, she already been vocal about her situation and how she been feeling when it come down to her hair loss. And, the medical problem related to her hair loss. So, which I believe is alopecia. So, one person can't, to me, when I'm thinking about this, I'm looking at it from a standpoint of if I think that this can be made to hurt someone because of someone already projecting how emotional the situation is for them because it's a medical situation that was out of their control, me personally, would have thought better of even making a joke in that way, even though it was a very lightweight joke. I didn't think it was really, a bad joke. But I'm not the one who has alopecia. I can't, say how Jada's supposed to have reacted or felt about that. And it's obvious she didn't like it. But, who am I? So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying, that, it's all up to that individual. And so that's my thoughts on that. I just think that Will should have handled it in a different way. He could have waited till later and pulled him up about it, or he could have just say, hey man, we're going to talk later, even from his seat, since he did all that yelling anyway from his seat with all the profanity that he used. He could have did it more of a, in a diplomatic way, where it wasn't as on that international stage, live, in front of the world to witness. And now it's been, this video is circulating everywhere, and the conversation's been being had everywhere. And Chris, at the end of the day, is a grown ass man. He's a man in his late 50s. And I'm sorry that happened to him. And I think, honestly, he was the bigger man in this situation because how he handled it. He handled it, that's like a champ. He didn't even wipe, rub his face. And, he just looked because he was in shock. And I can understand because the whole world was in shock. So I can imagine how he felt. And then he had 2 daughters. Imagine how they, was feeling when they saw this happen. One grown man slapped their dad in the face. And he continued, the Crick's walkway with, continue with the show. To me, that was very commendable of him. I have mad respect for him with that. Honestly, I really do. So I think they do need to sit down as 2 men and have a conversation about what's really going on. And I think not only do Will need to apologize how he did through social media, but he need to have a face-to-face conversation with this man. And if they are willing, both sit down and have a conversation with this, the way he slapped them in front of everyone, then maybe they need to have, a narrator there to assist in them having a conversation, have counseling concerning the situation, because it's a traumatic experience. It was an assault. He actually assaulted, meaning Will Smith actually assaulted Chris Rock. So Chris could have post-traumatic stress disorder concerning this situation that he got to live with for the rest of his life. That's not cool. And it definitely needs to be addressed. So that's my thoughts on that. Now, today was the day that our new SCOTUS nominee, they started the process with, I believe it was the committee. I think they approved her in that committee that they had, as far as the discussion at Congress about our new SCOTUS nominee, which is Supreme Court Justice, Ms. Ketanji Brown Jackson. Yay! First black woman to the Supreme Court that may be sitting on the Supreme Court. And I'm so excited for her and happy for her. She's is deserving from all the accolades I hear that, she has. So she deserves it. So I'm happy for her if she gets nominated. If, I think now Congress have to vote on this. So that's a happy day for her once we get word that she actually got all the votes, which I think she do. I think they only need 51 or 52 votes for her to win the nominee to become the next Supreme Court Justice. So I pray that she get all 52 votes. I think she do have that amount because I believe all the Democrats are going to vote for her. And I think maybe 1 or 2 Republicans may vote for her as well. So I think she do have the votes. But I pray that she do have it. So that would be great. It would be a wonderful thing to have representation more, on the Supreme Court Justice. The last real representation, if you ask me, besides Sotomayor, she's a person of color that sits on the Supreme Court. But the last black person was who actually did anything for the country and for the people, black citizens in this country, was Thurgood Marshall. You ask me, because Clarence Thomas, I don't think he represents us right, in my opinion. So that's just my opinion. But yes, I do hope and pray that Miss Ketanji Brown Jackson gets all the votes she needs for her to become the next Supreme Court Justice. So let's have our fingers crossed, and we're going to cheer her on all the way through and through. So that's all I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to come in and talk a little bit about these topics because that's what's been circulating, very strongly, especially the world and Chris situation. But I want to also bring upbeat, which is the Supreme Court justice. So um, I hope everyone please and subscribe. I pray that you subscribe and it helps me to really get out there more and more and circulate out there so more and more people can recognize my podcast. And I'm doing this podcast. If I haven't been more clear on why I'm doing this podcast, um, and also share, please. Subscribe, and share. That would be very helpful to my podcast. But the reason why I'm doing this podcast is because I don't just want to sit idle and not try my best to give back to my race in a way that is more positive and influenceable to anyone else, by giving little anecdotes of what happened in our past and our history, that I'm learning, that's taking place. I want to be a person who can influence, in a positive way. Anyone and everyone. It's not really just the black race, but of course, particularly the black race because I'm a black woman, you know. So I'm a black person. If you want to pick color on it, I have a person. I'm a person that has, melanin on her skin. So I'm proud of it. I am proud. I'm proud to be a black woman. So I want to give back in my own little way. I'm not a person that will go out there and march, do marches and things of that nature. But if this is a way that I can give back to my community in some way, because I'm proud of being a Charm City, black girl born and raised in Baltimore City. And yes, we have a lot of crime in the city, but that's in every city. But it's a lot of good things that goes on in our city as well. And so I want, others to know this. But I am trying to get back in my own little way. So that's the reason for this podcast being created. So I hope and pray that everyone will try their best to support me. And I will be so appreciative. So I'm going to say good night to everyone. And I hope everyone have a wonderful evening and a beautiful week. All right. I'll talk to y'all soon. Okay.